It was a quiet Tuesday evening in the Healer household. Bluey and Bingo were helping Mum prepare dinner while Dad read the newspaper in the living room. Everything seemed perfectly normal until the lights began to flicker. "Mum, why are the lights doing that funny dance?" asked Bluey. "Oh, it's probably just the old wiring, sweetheart." "Nothing to worry about," replied Chilli. But Bandit noticed something else. In the corner of his eye, he caught a glimpse of a shadow that didn't belong to anyone in the room, a shadow that moved independently, creeping along the walls like liquid darkness. Later that night, Bluey was playing with her toys when she heard a strange scratching sound coming from inside her wardrobe. At first, she thought it might be Bingo playing a prank. "Bingo, is that you in there? This isn't funny anymore," called out Bluey. But when the wardrobe door slowly creaked open by itself, revealing nothing but darkness inside, Bluey felt a chill run down her spine. From within that darkness, two glowing red eyes appeared, watching her with an intelligence that was definitely not human. "Mum, Dad, there's something in my room," shouted Bluey. "What's wrong, kiddo?" asked Bandit as the family rushed in. "There was something in my wardrobe. It had red eyes and it was watching me," explained Bluey. "Maybe it's a friendly monster, like in our games," suggested Bingo hopefully. "Let's take a look together, shall we?" said Chilli gently. When they opened the wardrobe, they found something that made their hearts skip a beat. Strange symbols were carved into the back wall, symbols that seemed to pulse with a faint, otherworldly light. These weren't ordinary scratches. They looked ancient, purposeful, and somehow alive. Suddenly, the temperature in the room dropped dramatically. The shadows in every corner began to move and merge, forming into a tall, humanoid figure with elongated limbs and those same glowing red eyes. This was SCP-280, known as the Shadow Entity, a creature that feeds on fear and thrives in darkness. "Fear, I can taste your fear," whispered the entity in a distorted voice. "Kids, stay behind me," commanded Bandit protectively. The entity towered over them, its form constantly shifting and writhing like smoke. But then something unexpected happened. Instead of cowering in terror, Bluey stepped...
It was a quiet Saturday morning in the Healer family home. Bluey and Bingo were playing in the living room while their parents prepared breakfast. Bluey found a mysterious board game called Shadow Tag in the attic. The ancient-looking board had strange symbols and a single black dice that seemed to absorb light. As Bluey rolled the dice, the room grew darker. The shadows on the walls began to move independently, stretching and twisting in impossible ways. The shadow versions of Bluey and Bingo began playing alongside them, but with eerie, jerky motions. Soon, the shadows acted independently, reaching toward the real girls with dark, elongated arms. When Bandit and Chilli rushed in, their own shadows had come alive too, standing behind them with glowing red eyes. The Shadow family surrounded the real healers, growing larger and more menacing. But Bluey remembered something important about shadow games. Shadows can't exist without light. Working together, the family positioned mirrors around the room, reflecting sunlight onto the mysterious dice. As light hit the dice, it began to glow white. The shadows shrank back to their normal positions, and the mysterious board game faded away like smoke. The Healer family learned that even the scariest games can be won with teamwork, cleverness, and a little bit of light. Because shadows are just the absence of light, and there's always a way to bring the light back. It was another ordinary day in Brisbane, Australia. Bluey was playing in the backyard with her little sister Bingo when something extraordinary was about to happen. The two sisters ventured into the dusty old shed behind their house. Among forgotten items, Bluey spotted something unusual. A glowing, web-covered box tucked away in the corner. As Bluey reached for the mysterious box, a small, colorful spider with bright blue and red markings crawled out from the webs. Before Bluey could react, the spider gently bit her paw. Instead of pain, she felt a warm, tingling sensation. Suddenly, Bluey began to change. Her blue fur started to shimmer with red web patterns. Her eyes became larger and more alert. Bluey discovered she could now stick to walls and ceilings. She could shoot webs from her paws, and her senses were incredibly sharp. She had become Spider Bluey. Just then, they heard a commotion from the street. A runaway ice cream truck. Spider Bluey swung into action, using her new web-slinging abilities to chase down the truck. With her enhanced agility and strength, she managed to safely stop it before anyone got hurt. The crowd cheered for their new superhero. From that day forward, Bluey used her spider powers to help her community, always remembering that with great power comes great responsibility. And so, the adventures of Spider Bluey began, bringing joy, help, and web-slinging fun to everyone in Brisbane. Because sometimes, the most ordinary days can become the most extraordinary adventures.
It was a quiet Tuesday morning in the Healer household. Bluey and Bingo were having breakfast with Mum and Dad, just like any other day. But something felt different. Bluey noticed the kitchen clock's hands were moving backwards. The sunlight was coming from the wrong direction, and the calendar on the wall kept flickering, showing the same date over and over, March 15th. "Mum," Bluey said, pointing at the calendar. "Why does it keep saying March 15th? But when she looked around, her family seemed frozen in time, their movements slow and strange. The milk in Bingo's cereal bowl began flowing upward, defying gravity. Outside the window, birds flew backwards through the sky. Bluey's reflection in the bathroom mirror moved a few seconds behind her actual movements. The house began to shake with a low, ominous humming sound. Clocks throughout the house started spinning wildly in impossible directions. Some forwards, some backwards, some sideways. Family photos on the walls flickered rapidly, showing different moments from their lives. Baby pictures, current photos, and even glimpses of possible futures. Bluey watched in amazement as she rapidly shifted between different ages. Sometimes she was an adult dog with children of her own, then back to a tiny puppy, then her current age. The kitchen walls shifted between different time periods. New and modern, then old and vintage, then futuristic and strange. In the hallway, they discovered a mysterious grandfather clock that showed galaxies and distant stars instead of numbers. The clock's hands spun in impossible patterns, and reality seemed to bend around it. The family saw glimpses of alternate versions of themselves, different life choices, different possibilities, all overlapping in a confusing temporal maze. As the temporal chaos intensified, the Healer family realized what was happening. They were experiencing their deepest fear, the fear of time passing, of change, of growing up and growing apart. But instead of running away, they joined hands around the mysterious grandfather clock. Their love and bond created a warm, stabilizing energy that began to calm the temporal storm. The clock revealed its truth. It wasn't a curse, but a reflection of their fears about time and change. As they embraced the natural flow of time together, the clock chimed 12 times, and everything returned to normal. The calendar finally moved to March 16th, then 17th. That evening, as they snuggled together for bedtime, the grandfather clock ticked peacefully in the background. They had learned that time's passage wasn't something to fear, but something to cherish, because every moment together was precious.